What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, gonna do the breakdown video for Anthony Joshua versus Oleksandr Usyk, the undefeated Oleksandr Usyk, for the unified heavyweight championship of the world. Anthony Joshua currently holds the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO heavyweight titles. He is a two-time unified champ. He's taken on Oleksandr Usyk, the undefeated, former undisputed cruiserweight champion, who had earned a mandatory title shot when he gave up his belt at cruiserweight and moved up to heavyweight. The WBO has the rule that you are allowed to move in front of anybody and become the number one contender if you give up your belt and you move up in weight. I personally do like that rule. So Usyk is taking advantage of that. He's been waiting around. Once the Tyson Fury fight was off the table for Joshua, the WBO forced Joshua to make this mandatory defense, and now he's going to be taking him on. Now, this is a very, very big matchup. Joshua right now is my number 2 heavyweight in the world, and Oleksandr Usyk is number 6 for me. So, Usyk, we'll get into everything that is, going into both. We're going to look at both guys. If you haven't watched my breakdown videos, I fully break the fights down. So, first off, I talk about how big the fight is. Then I get into each fighter individually. I start with the favorite. I talk about what he needs to do to win this fight, the kind of style he needs to have to win this fight. Then, I also talk about, prior to that, I talk about what he's done coming into this fight, where he's at. Then we talk about the style he needs to have. Then I ask the question, can he win by knockout? Can he win by decision? Then, what does it mean to him? What does it mean for boxing if he wins? What does it mean for him? What does it mean for boxing if he loses? Then I move on to the underdog, and then after that I give my fight prediction, how I think the fight's going to go and why I believe that. Now, the fight is taking place Saturday, September 25th on DAZN. This is a big-time heavyweight fight, guys. First off, Anthony Joshua is one of my top 12 most must-see fighters in all of boxing. He is very, very popular worldwide. The United States, he's known, but he's not as big as he is in other countries. But he is huge worldwide. This guy brings in a lot of money. He makes a lot of money per fight. And the fight with Usyk is a massive, massive title defense for him. I hope people aren't sleeping on this one, because Oleksandr Usyk, the undefeated, former undisputed cruiserweight champ, is the real deal. Former Olympic gold medalist. This guy can fight. He's a very, very good technical fighter, and he has a lot of heart, and he's very hungry. So let's jump into each fighter and break this fight down. We start with the favorite, the unified champion, Anthony Joshua, and we look at what he's done coming into this fight, where he's at. Well, Joshua is just a couple years removed, actually just over a year and a half removed from his upset knockout loss to, he's actually just 2 years removed from the loss to Andy Ruiz, where he lost the heavyweight title, lost for the first time in his career. And then 6 months later, in December of 2019, he bounced back, scored a dominating 12-round unanimous decision to regain the unified heavyweight title. And then last year, he fought once in December. He took on Kubrat Pulev in a mandatory title defense. And, he faced a little bit of adversity, but he broke Pulev down, knocked him out in the 10th round, or 9th round, I believe, and retained his unified belts. So, rolling into this one, he's disappointed because he wanted the Fury fight. That fight was on the table. They had a date picked out. Everything was good to go, pretty much. And then it got ruined for him because of the rematch that Fury was forced into against Deontay Wilder, the third fight. So, Joshua had to move on, and he he has to make his mandatory title defense. And he's facing a tough challenger. He's facing a tough cookie in Oleksandr Usyk. He really needs to not overlook Usyk. Looking forward to what could be happening for him next year. Excuse me. He really needs to take Usyk serious, you know, and look at the fight in front of him. Now, what kind of style, what kind of fight does he need to have success and to win this fight? Well, first off, Anthony Joshua has a good jab. He needs to use that jab. When you're facing a good boxer and a southpaw, you know, more to the point, you can land that jab down the middle. Especially something that's going to work for him is when Usyk does decide to get off first or counter punches after Joshua throws a big punch, a power punch. Joshua would be so in tune to throw a jab even after he throws a power punch and he's coming back and Usyk tries to counter punch him. Stick the jab. Joshua can own this fight with a jab. He really can. If he consistently throws his jab and follows it up with his 1-2, he could really have success. Also, his left uppercut. He's facing a southpaw. If he can land a left uppercut, much to the way Canelo landed his uppercut on Billy Joe Saunders, you know, and really the hook to the body, he could have a lot of success with that punch as well. But the jab, in my opinion, he could possibly cut Oleksandr Usyk to shreds with that jab. He also needs to keep the fight in the center of the ring or force Usyk to come to him, but he does not need to chase Usyk around. Usyk, the one thing he's good at is angles and, you know, movement. He can move. Joshua does not need to chase him. If he's coming forward, he needs to cut the ring off, not chase him, and he needs to continue to jab and set up that big power punch. Against all his opponents, Anthony Joshua needs to learn one thing. With his height and his size, he needs to use his jab and not fight to his opponent's height and not fight to their level of, especially trading punches. You know, Joshua needs to be wary. Usyk is not a big power puncher. He's not, at heavyweight especially. But Usyk has the ability. He's very, very good. Him and Lomachenko train together. Lomachenko's dad trains Usyk. And the thing that makes Usyk very, very good is his timing. He has, you know, exceptional timing. And a guy with great timing, if he lands a crisp punch on you, that could be all she wrote. And it don't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a big time, if you have a big time punch. If you can land a picture perfect punch right on the money, you can hurt somebody and you can hurt them back. So Joshua needs to definitely keep his hands up and not fight down to Usyk's level, his height or anything. He needs to use his height, use his jab, and he could have a lot of success with that. Now, he can get aggressive too. He can have his spurts of getting aggressive, especially if he gets Usyk on the ropes. Get aggressive, throw some bombs, and let him know you're there. And he definitely needs to let Usyk taste his power early. Take a couple chances, make Usyk know the kind of power that you have, Anthony Joshua, because you have a lot. All right. Can Anthony Joshua win this fight by knockout? Absolutely, he can. He has the power. He can knock pretty much anybody out in the heavyweight division, and I think he can hurt Usyk. He could stop him early. We still don't know how much of a chin Usyk has in the heavyweight division. Anthony Joshua needs to test that out early and find out. But I think Joshua can win by knockout for sure. Can he win by a decision? I believe he can. You know, if Joshua sticks a good jab and continues with that punch and follows it up with a right hand down the pipe, you know, every now and then, I absolutely think that Joshua could win a decision. But, you know, you're fighting a guy who's going to probably be looking for a decision. So, should Joshua be looking for a decision? I don't think so. I think Joshua needs to impose his size and his strength and really try to see if he can score a knockout, but he also needs to rack up points. and rounds. So that's for sure, because Usyk, he's had a good chin up to this point. He's never been knocked out, you know, and he's fighting probably to go the distance with Anthony Joshua in this one. So Joshua needs to make sure he's piling up points and winning rounds. Now, what does it mean to Anthony Joshua if he wins this fight? Well, it means a lot. You know, Anthony Joshua has really piled up top 10 guys, you know, his whole career, the last 5 years since he, you know, even before he became world champion by knocking out Charles Martin in 2016, he put Dillian White on his resume, and he's just been stacking top 10 heavyweights on his resume ever since. Usyk, though, Usyk is a pound-for-pound guy. You look at the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters, Usyk's on that list. Usyk is very good. And if Joshua can get in there and dominate Usyk and stop him, it's just going to put another feather in his cap. It's just going to make him look that much more dangerous and keep him established right there alongside the winner of Wilder and Fury. And it's going to keep him one of the big three for sure. So it's very important for his legacy, his resume, to beat another undefeated fighter, an undisputed world champion from the cruiserweight division. It's a big deal. It is a big fight for Anthony Joshua, and it's going to mean a lot for his resume if he can win this fight. Now, what does it mean for Anthony Joshua's career if he loses? Well, he's definitely going to be taken out of the top 3. I don't think people are going to be, I think they're going to be surprised, but I don't think it's going to be like the biggest upset. It's not going to be a bigger upset than Andy Ruiz, and I'll tell you why. Because Oleksandr Usyk is an established Olympic gold medalist, former undisputed cruiserweight champion, and he has that talent. He has a name already coming in, a big name, and I don't think people are going to just be, I think they're going to be surprised, but I don't think they're just going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe Joshua lost. But it definitely is going to hurt his career, and it also depends on how he loses. But I really think if he doesn't knock Oleksandr Usyk out, even if it goes to a decision, he loses a decision, people are going to doubt the kind of power that he has. They really are. You know, he couldn't beat a smaller guy. You know, they're going to question his power. If he gets knocked out, though, that's bad. That is bad. If he gets knocked out against, against Usyk, and it's definitely going to hurt him. But, you know, either way, I think Anthony Joshua stays a top 5 guy because he's beaten two of the guys in the top 5 now. He's beaten Dillian White and Andy Ruiz. You know, he's left no doubt. So it's going to hurt him. It is, but I definitely think he can bounce back from it, of course. But you know, it is going to hurt his legacy and his resume. Now, what does it do for boxing if Anthony Joshua wins? It's huge for boxing. Anthony Joshua beats Oleksandr Usyk, knocks him out. It keeps everybody salivating for Joshua and Wilder or Joshua and Fury. Hopefully that can happen next year. It might not happen for the undisputed title, but they might be able to still make the fight happen regardless. So, you know, it keeps everybody drooling for that fight. So it's big for boxing if Anthony Joshua wins. What does it do for boxing if Anthony Joshua loses? I really think it hurts boxing. Oleksandr Usyk is a great fighter. He's a star in his own right. But, you know, he's not that glamour type star that Anthony Joshua is. If Usyk wins, people are going to be interested, of course, if Usyk moves in line into the position that Joshua's in. But because Joshua's so big and he's talented and he's got that power, because, you know, Tyson Fury is, because Deontay Wilder is, it makes it more interesting because those guys are so big and established. Usyk wins, it's not as big for boxing if Usyk wins. So I think it does hurt boxing because it's going to ruin potential matchups that people have been looking forward to for a few years now. So that's that. Now we move on to Oleksandr Usyk, the undefeated, former undisputed cruiserweight champion. So rolling into this is only his 3rd fight in the heavyweight division. He moved up to heavyweight in 2019. He defeated, I believe, Chaz Witherspoon by a 7th round TKO. And then last year he returned, I believe in October, and took on Derek Chisora. and, you know, former world title challenger. And he, you know, Chisora gave him some trouble, but Chisora pretty much gives everybody trouble. Chisora is like a glorified gatekeeper. He's a good fighter, you know. He's a good heavyweight challenger, and he went in there and, you know, he landed some good shots, but I like the way Usyk dictated the pace and controlled it. Excuse me, that's what led to the decision for me, and I was impressed by that. So, you know, Usyk, it's not going to be easy moving up, but it's only his third fight in the heavyweight division. He's getting a crack at the world title, cashing in on his mandatory, and he gets a chance to become the unified champion. Now, the good thing for Usyk, even though he's the underdog, is one, he's undefeated, never tasted defeat. He's former Olympic gold medalist. This dude is used to winning. He's hungry. And you know what? He's been in big fights before. He fought in the World Boxing Super Series. Prior to that, though, he went in there and he dominated Krzysztof Kowalski. He's beaten Michael Hunter, who's a top 10 heavyweight right now. He also stopped Marco Huck, who is a former #1 cruiserweight in the world. In the semifinals, he went into Maris Bradis' backyard, Latvia. Had a great fight. Only fight he's really been contested in, and he fought his ass off. And he, you know, he won a close decision there. And then in the finals of the World Boxing Super Series for the undisputed cruiserweight title, he went in and dominated Murat Gassiev to unify all 4 belts and become the undisputed champion. Usyk is used to fighting top-tier competition, and this is the biggest challenge and fight of his career right here, and it's a big one. Usyk, very talented southpaw boxer, very hungry. He gets into his fights, he gets very pumped up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he does against Anthony Joshua. Now, what kind of fight does Usyk need to have success and possibly beat Anthony Joshua? Well, he's going to have to win the jab competition. You know, if he's got to slip Joshua's jab and land his straight left hand down the middle. He's got to do that, and he's got to do it consistently. If he slips it this way, if he slips it to his left, land the straight left hand down the middle, even hit the body with that straight left hand, that might have some success. If he slips this way to the jab, he can land a right hook and try to maybe get over Joshua's jab, which is going to be tough because Joshua's got the height advantage. But, you know, he definitely needs to try to win the jab competition. He does not need to let Anthony Joshua carve him to shreds. And he doesn't need to run and everything. He needs to try to win the angles, use the angles, and he definitely needs to stay out of the power range of Anthony Joshua. He has to. If he gets inside of Joshua's power, he's going to get carved up. I'm telling you that right now. And he could potentially get hurt. But I also think if he times his punches well, he might be able to hurt Anthony Joshua because of the way he times his punches. He has that perfect timing that I was talking about earlier. And his defense isn't bad, but he definitely needs to, I think he needs to come in light and move. He needs to be sticking and moving. He needs to try to pile up points, but he also needs to look for that bread and butter punch that opens up for him right down the pipe on Anthony Joshua's chin and see if he can hurt him. You know, but he does not need to take unnecessary risks to get there. He needs to set it up. And, you know, he's a master boxer. He is a master at doing that kind of stuff. So he needs to be, I mean, as I always say with the underdogs, he needs to fight the perfect fight. But you know what? With him, what's different than most other underdogs is he is a student of the game. He's a technician. And I really think he has a serious shot. He's a very live underdog to pull off the upset here. Now, can he win this fight by knockout? You know what? I think he can. I think if he wears down Joshua into the late rounds to where Joshua's moving a lot and everything, I think he can break him down and stop him. And I'm not 100% that he cannot hurt him with one punch if he lands the perfect punch. I keep saying that, and I think he could hurt him if he lands that big shot. So we shall see. I think he can, though, stop him. I think the better chance, though, is him to win a decision. But But that's going to be tough too. Joshua's big. Joshua's going to score points with his jab and his size. So when he gets off, he needs to clearly land his shots. He needs to make an impression. He needs to, even if he can't really hurt Joshua, he needs to let everybody know and Joshua know that he's there and he is going to be tagging him with shots. So that's the other thing right there. So yeah, he can win a decision, but I don't know if he's going to. I think he can win a decision, but it's gonna be tough either way. It's gonna be a tough for him to win a decision or by knockout. To win it all is gonna be very tough for Usyk, but I definitely think it is possible. Now, what does it mean for Usyk if he wins this fight? It's, monumental. He becomes the unified heavyweight champion of the world. He either sets up a rematch or he lines himself up for huge fights with Tyson Fury or anybody in top 10. You could argue his resume, if he were to knock out Anthony Joshua, he could be the number one heavyweight in the world. He's already been the number one cruiserweight in the world. His quality wins are far more than Tyson Fury's in terms of, total, even though Fury's would be bigger, but it's going to be very close, and he's right up at the top of the heavyweight division with the win. So it's huge for Usyk. He becomes a global star overnight, not just in the boxing world, but overall, he becomes a global star. What does it mean for him if he loses? Well, I don't think people are going to be surprised if he loses, so I don't think it hurts his resume or his record that much, but it really depends on how he loses. We're not going to know if he goes out there and gets his ass whipped and blasted by Joshua. Is anybody really going to think he can compete at the highest level at heavyweight anymore? That's the thing. It depends on how he loses. He goes out and loses a decision, or he gets stopped later in the fight. I think people are going to argue, well, shit. He can come back. He can get back in the mix of the heavyweight division and still possibly work his way back up. But if he goes out there and gets blitzed because he was a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight, I think it's going to be harder to sell that, and he might have to consider moving back down to cruiserweight or fighting at the new weight limit of bridgerweight. That might be more realistic. But Usyk's a hungry guy. I think losing to, one of the top fighters in the whole sport is not really going to hurt him too much. What does it mean for Usyk? Or what does it mean for boxing if Usyk wins this fight? Well, as I said, it's great for Usyk, but it's probably bad for boxing because we get gypped of those superstar matchups we've been wanting to see between Joshua and Fury and Joshua and Wilder. So, that really hurts the chances of that. And Usyk is not the star that Anthony Joshua is. So, it's not as good for boxing. Now, what does it do for boxing if Usyk loses? It's not going to really hurt boxing. It's better for boxing if Usyk loses, but it's not going to hurt boxing if he loses the fight. It isn't. So now, the prediction. Who do I have winning this fight between Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk? I'm going with Anthony Joshua in this one. I think Joshua's jab is going to own this fight. I think he's going to land that punch down the middle, and he's going to follow it up with that right hand down the middle. I don't think Usyk moves as well as a heavyweight as he did as a cruiserweight, and I think if Joshua's tagging him, using that, cutting the ring off, I think Joshua can carve him up. I think he can hurt him, and I'm calling for a knockout. I'm saying later round knockout for Anthony Joshua, as he will retain his unified heavyweight championship of the world and move forward towards hopefully a bigger fight next year. But again, I absolutely think if Usyk fights the right fight, the perfect fight, that he could pull the upset off in this one, and I would not be surprised. But it's a big matchup. My number 2 heavyweight versus my number 6 heavyweight. And Joshua's already beaten number 4 and 5. So very, very big test for Anthony Joshua right here. And it's a huge monumental fight for Oleksandr Usyk, biggest of his career. So we'll see what happens. Saturday, September 25th on DAZN. Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk for the unified heavyweight championship of the world. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.